There were a total of 434 child sexual abuse cases handled by Child Protective Services in 2011. There were also 96 sexual assault-related cases handled by the Guam Police Department last year. These alarming numbers appeared in the first report submitted by the Lonnie Kate Task Force since its inception last September. While Attorney General Len Riopatas says the numbers are staggering, he also questions reports that Guam has the highest per capita rate of sexual abuse in the nation. He adds that even if the statistics were correct, there are a number of factors that could lead to those numbers. One factor, he says, is Guam's age of consent, 16, whereas other jurisdictions have them at a much lower age, some even at 12.
Whether or not that's true, that we are the highest per capita, I'm still not sure about that. But there are various reasons that we think that contributes to that number. If you have a case where a 13, 14, 15-year-old is having sex, and again, it's consensual, this is not the rape sort of case, we would in Guam be charging that as a rape, as a CSC. In another jurisdiction where the statute is much lower, they wouldn't even be reporting it at all.
Another significant item in the report is the number of sexual assault-related arrests compared to the number of convictions. In 2011, there were 74 arrests made for criminal sexual conduct and 22 for forcible rape. However, in that same year, there were only 42 criminal sexual conduct convictions and 126 cases pending. A former judge, Vice Speaker Benjamin Cruz, says in most instances, sexual abuse victims, especially minors, do not want to live through the horror all over again by testifying against their perpetrators.
It's very hard to try to get a young woman to go in and testify. Just imagine a 6- and 7-year-old.
Absolutely.
And so it really is a traumatic experience for them. And sometimes they just don't want to do it.
Cruz explains that with no witness testimony, it is difficult for the prosecution to prove someone guilty. Oftentimes, sexual predators are offered a plea in the absence of testimony, says Cruz, who adds that it is, unfortunately, in most cases, the only option.
And though we don't want to accept these pleas that are a fraction of the sentence, sometimes it's the only way that we're going to get any kind of sentence. I'm not going to say any kind of justice, but any kind of sentence and any kind of punishment, because otherwise they'll walk scot-free.
As a judge handling juvenile cases for 10 years, Cruz, who now chairs the Committee on Youth, has been an advocate for causes that promote the well-being of children. He believes that the prevention of sexual crimes against children ultimately come down to respect and teaching children what it means to respect one's body. Meanwhile, Healing Hearts Crisis Center Program Manager Marissa Uggan stresses the importance of offering assistance to sexual abuse victims. In 2011, Uggan says of the 114 cases the agency has handled, 77% of them were children. And of that number, 9 out of 10 were female victims. Each victim is different, she says, but all have one thing in common. The assault, whether on a large or small scale, permanently scars them.
There is no typical victim. It's across all cultures, across all ethnicities, across all socioeconomic statuses. What has been steadily rising is the perpetrator, the trends in the perpetrators, the alleged perpetrators in the cases. Whereas before, we get worried about our children outside of the home. A lot of them, I think, over 70% over the last year have been alleged perpetrators who are known to the victims or the families.